In the early 1990s, the closure of heavy industries changed the face of Lanarkshire. Companies like British Steel Corporation were slowly shutting down, causing massive job losses, which eventually led to longer-term, multi-generational, high rates of unemployment. There just weren't sufficient resources to help the many in need of assistance in finding work, and while there was an initial boost in consumer spending due to redundancy payments, this was short-lived. The area and its residents suffered as a result. Although there was an initial response to the closures during the 90s, with agencies and government offering retraining, upskilling and business startup opportunities, it wasn't until the early 2000s that a strategic response was developed. In 2002, representatives from North Lanarkshire Council, Scottish Enterprise, the Department of Work and Pensions and the colleges created a local service to bring new opportunities to the area. This enabled local people to access support within their communities, to assist them into the world of work, and the stoic and resilient people of North Lanarkshire took advantage in their droves. This service was Roots to Work. Roots to Work is a registered charity. Its purpose is to help North Lanarkshire residents achieve their aims in life by providing sector-leading skills and employability support. In doing so, it contributes to improving the economy of North Lanarkshire, reducing poverty and creating a society where everyone has the chance to have a good quality of life. Roots to Work provides advice, information, guidance and practical support to develop and enhance the employment prospects of its clients. It also provides further support by connecting its clients with many partner organisations that can help them in other ways. Roots to Work partners offer various programs to support people facing challenges, including health, money worries, and more. Roots to Work prides itself in putting clients at the centre and supporting them to return to work or seek their first job. Throughout its 20 years, Roots to Work has provided support and guidance to thousands of unemployed North Lanarkshire residents and has helped over 20,000 people into work. And more than 70% of these people sustained employment after 6 months. Each client's journey is unique, and Roots to Work services are tailored to each client personally, helping them remove barriers and enabling them into employment. People like
I was unemployed when I engaged with Roots to Work. I'd been unemployed for a year and a half. I was quite isolated and very lonely at home. I was bringing up my son on my own as well. So when Roots to Work came into my life, I couldn't believe it to start with, because I thought, this can't be true. People actually care about me, they care about my outcomes, they cared about my journey, they wanted to see the best in me, and I really appreciate what Roots to Work have done for me. So my journey to begin with, it was hard at the start, it was hard to engage and to have the confidence, but Roots to Work really helped me.
So I would say that we live in very uncertain times, and many people suffer from financial insecurity, which can be hugely debilitating, and that can be debilitating for the individual themselves and for whole families, and it can mean there's greater barriers to success for the whole family. So enabling people to be financially secure through work is really what we want to do for all our residents. So we want to make sure people are supported and financially secure. We have a range of financial inclusion supports for people to do that, but then we also want them to contribute to the economy. We also want them enjoying life to the full, living independently and well, and part of that mix is successful career and work opportunities. So an organisation like Roots to Work, which is able to make that happen for people, is incredibly important.
I think Over the last 20 years, their performance has been exceptional. They have delivered despite many stormy days, many upturns, many setbacks. They've still managed to deliver. They've did that because they're committed to Roots to Work and they're committed to the ideals behind Roots to Work. So in the next 20 years, do the exact same. Don't waver, always look after the client and continue to be flexible and be honest with the people that you're dealing with, and the next 20 years, I believe, will even be better than the last 20.
Roots to Work provides services via outreach centres throughout North Lanarkshire, in the local communities and its 4 main premises in Airdrie, Bells Hill, Coatbridge and Wishaw. Having reached the milestone of 20,000 jobs, Roots to Work has exciting plans for the future. If you need help finding employment in North Lanarkshire, Roots to Work can help you. For further information, see www.rootstowork.co.uk or get in touch with your local office.
I'm glad there's a light here. I'm not talking about myself. My name is John McDougall, and I'm the interim chair of Roots to Work. The chair for the last 20 years, you just saw him not so long ago. On the screen there, Harry Curran left the job very, very recently. So I'm the new interim chair. So I hope that video gave you a sort of flavour of Roots to Work and what Roots to Work can achieve and the qualities that Roots to Work brings. 20,000 people supported into employment over a 20-year period. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely remarkable. It really, really is something to celebrate. And if you noticed a little sort of black passages, the text passages in the screen there during that video, then you might have noticed a few numbers that were sort of flashed up there. And if you did a multiplication in your head, then you would see that the savings, I mean, apart from all the other benefits that Roots to Work brings, the savings to the public purse are measured in tens of millions of pounds per annum. Tens of millions of pounds per annum. And the cost for that, the cost per person in bringing somebody into work, is just over £2,000. It's, with a business background, and apart from anything else, apart from the human side of it, a business background, this is a really, really good deal investing in people through Roots to Work. So, welcome to this event, this celebratory event. It's really good to see you all here today and to recognise to see so many faces that I recognise from the recent and distant past. So welcome those in person and welcome everybody that's online watching this as well, because it's good to see you. I've got a second slide as well, I think, Kat. I'll just make sure that's it. And it is. So the structure of what we're talking about is looking at Roots to Work from the past and the present and into the future. I see I'm under the heading past, so that's helpful. Now, more importantly, looking at the past, the video that we saw there, the documentary video, it gave us a glimpse of the background to Roots to Work 20 years ago, the springboard, the launch pad of heavy industry, North Lanarkshire's heavy industry coming out of that. But we also want to focus a lot more on the present that Routes to Work encounters today and that we all encounter today. And so you'll see some of the Routes to Work clients. You'll see Max Blaszczyk, who's a boxing coach and has a gym business. And you'll see our the 20,000th client, Catherine, who's now a pastry chef up at Cleef Hydro. Also, the opportunity to see face-to-face and also in video some Routes to Work staff, employees, and partners, the critically important partners of Routes to Work. As a Route to Work client goes through the journey all the way from their starting point, with whatever disadvantages they have at the beginning, then they work their way through a journey where they're helped on a social side, in building confidence and building skills and meeting employers and all the way through. There's a journey where specialist caseworkers work with them, and then finally they're introduced to an employer and finally into employment itself. It's very, very impressive when you see it laid out and you see all the steps that are in there. And it's very, very humbling as well in the truest sense of the word, because I look at these things and I think there's nine out of the 10 things there I cannot do personally, but there are people there who Routes to Work that can do them and do them so well. So we then want to have that look ahead, where Routes to Work is going in the future. You've probably heard of it, or you will certainly hear mention of the KTP, the Knowledge Transfer Partnership Project with the University of Western Scotland. And I've mentioned the 20,000 jobs a few times already, and I will continue to mention it lots of times because it's such a major figure and such a major milestone and achievement. But if you step beyond that and you think of what that means in a sort of wider sense, 20,000 jobs, if you think of the wider economic impact of that and the social impact of that, if you think of the net flow of money into the public purse instead of money going out of the public purse, if you do a little calculation there, as I said earlier, you've got tens of millions of pounds coming in to the public purse rather than going out. So it's a good deal for society. It's a good deal for North Lanarkshire. If you think about also in terms of what it means in terms of the people that are going into employment, in terms of their well-being and just the simple dignity that work gives you, their improved health, the reduced costs on the NHS and the health service, improved education, not just for the person that's in employment themselves, but also for any family members that are there. So there's all these wider implications of someone working rather than not working. And alongside the stark numbers and the financial numbers that you hear me repeating certainly lots of times, you also have to recognise that social side of it, that wider economic side and the social side as well. And all of these things being brought to those in greatest need in North Lanarkshire. So it's not as if it's been brought to those who are not in greatest need. It's an absolute sharp end where people are with that greatest need. So people who are in a poorer situation economically, or who are in a younger situation, who are just starting work, or in an older situation, or just been made unemployed and redundant and having to reskill or whatever. So it's all of these good things being brought to the people that really, really need them as well. Now, all that I've just described there, that economic side and that social aspect to it, to get a better understanding of that and to drive that, that's the essence of the Knowledge Transfer Partnership Project over the next year or two. That's the direction for us. Fiona Whittaker from North Lanarkshire Council, who recently joined us on the board of Routes to Work, will also be talking about the workforce for the future. And we'll round off with another, with a video from the new council leader, Jordan Linden, and then we'll close with Robin Turner, who's the Chief Exec of Roots to Work. Having said that, there will also be some singing and dancing in there as well. And Robin has promised me that that's not Robin that's going to do this, which I was really, really pleased to hear. It's also not me, and I was pleased to hear that too. I mentioned Harry's name earlier, Harry Curran, who is the chair. In a way, he will always be the chair of Roots to Work, won't he? I mean, for 20 years, he's been the chair of Roots to Work since its inception, since the beginning. I was going to say since the creation, but not quite as far back as that. And you saw Harry in that documentary video. So all 20,000 jobs that were secured under Harry's chairmanship. That's a tremendous legacy to take away with you and to think about as you're having a glass of wine or a glass of whiskey on a Friday evening, that you helped to bring 20,000 people into employment in North Lanarkshire. Apparently, the story goes that 20 years ago, someone approached Harry and asked him to become chair of Roots to Work for a wee while. Apparently, was what he signed up for. And you now know the definition of a wee while. A wee while equals 20 years. So if somebody says to you, just wait here for a wee while and I'll be back, then don't hold your breath. And what a record of change under Harry's stewardship and the chairmanship. 20 years ago, in that first year, Roots to Work had a turnover of 6 employees. One of which was Robin Turner, Chief Exec. So Robin has also been with Roots to Work right from the very, very beginning as well. Uniquely, Robin is now left in that position. But there was 6 employees, and now there's over 80 employees in Roots to Work. The turnover was £745,000. £745,000. And since then, the Roots to Work has now invested over £42 million in supporting people into work. And in that first year, 190 people were brought into work, 190. And the number, as you well know, is over 20,000 now. In fact, Robin was telling me we have actually gone beyond the 21,000 jobs now. That's a huge improvement, a huge movement over that 20-year period. So, and all under Harry's chairmanship. So, well done, Harry, and well done indeed. You enjoy, you deserve and enjoy your glass of wine on Friday night. As I said, I'm the interim chair of Roots to Work, and I personally have been involved with Roots to Work for over 10 years now. I was talking to Robin last week, and I was saying it's a bit like coming on as the sub at half time, you know, and Harry's been on there since the first whistle blew. And of course, Robin was also there. He was also there to hear the game start. I've had a long working lifetime in various things, and I can honestly and truly say that my involvement with Roots to Work is one of the things I'm most proud of. And I'm proud of it because of the way in which Roots to Work helps people in North Lanarkshire in such an important way, not in a flippant way, not in a not in a way that's useful or nice or fluffy or whatever, but in an absolutely critical way. It's totally practical, and yet it's caring. It's done with a caring approach. It's very wide-ranging, as I spoke about earlier, education, health, all those things. It's multi-generational. It makes a change to families, not just to individuals. But it means that children are brought up in working families with employment, rather than the opposite of that. And it's all-inclusive. It's the 16-year-old, it's the 65-year-old, it's everyone is involved in it. And work is so important and in its own right, but as I say, critically, it also facilitates many other beneficial things that flow from employment, from being employed rather than being unemployed. And so you've got this mixture together, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And then when you consider that Roots to Work does that and does it in such a large scale basis, so not just tinkering at the corners, but actually on a large scale basis, it takes you back to the starting point, back to those 20,000 jobs. It's absolutely remarkable. Roots to Work in North Lanarkshire Council, I've had a partnership that goes back that full 20 years. North Lanarkshire Council was right in there at the beginning and right in there creating, with others, creating Roots to Work. And at Roots to Work, we've been extremely grateful for the continued and continuing support from North Lanarkshire Council. And we've now got another example of that support. Derek Brown, who's the Deputy Chief Executive of North Lanarkshire Council, who also appeared in that opening video. So you'll be seeing Derek now, and you'll be seeing him for the second time, but this time in the flesh. And Derek will now be a keynote speaker. So Derek, thank you very much.
So thank you to John. I hope, well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation today to represent North Lanarkshire Council and to have the chance to speak to you. I don't think I was looking particularly healthy in that video. It was before I went on my 2 weeks of holiday, and I promise you I'm feeling a lot better now. I was actually a bit worried about looking at myself on that screen. I can reassure you I'm okay. I'm here today. I'm fine. But it's great to have the invitation. I'm actually going to change some things I was going to say because there's quite a lot of stuff being covered by John there, and I can't possibly do it as well as John's just done it. But I'm going to talk a bit about some of the things that I've heard this morning, or so this afternoon, just even in the video and from John, and just respond a bit to that. And then I have one or two things to say. And whilst I'm quite used to being consigned to the past, I hope I'll just beg your indulgence and not entirely consign myself to talking about the past, if that's okay with you, in terms of this programme. So hopefully people will indulge me and let me talk a wee bit about the future as well. So, and thank you very much, Kat. I appreciate that for anticipating that I was going to be moving on. So well done for that. If you want to just do it again, Kat, if that's okay. So I was reflecting on the past and I was thinking about it, and then I saw that video and it was talking about the industrial history of the area. So I'm from a mining village outside Falkirk, between Falkirk and Airdrie really. And my father in the late 70s worked in aluminium, iron and steel industries that didn't exist by the time we hit the mid-1980s in that kind of Falkirk kind of area. So I grew up with that uncertainty of that time, that change in the manufacturing base of the country, that reprofiling, I guess, of British industry, Scottish industry. Lived through it, lived through the uncertainty of family employment and all the things that came with that. And I think I was fortunate. My brother and I both became teachers, both became English teachers. My father was a charge hand electrician in British Aluminium, actually, way back. And he looks at us sometimes and he thinks, what have I done? How did I manage to create 2 English teachers? How did I manage to create 2 head teachers? What did I do wrong? And we always say it's like an episode of Frasier in his house. You know, we're going to get him a wee dog called Eddie. That should cheer him up. But the point is that we all had to, didn't we, in Scotland, respond to and come through that industrial uncertainty. And we've had to find different creative ways to help people find employment and to create that employment and to stimulate that kind of new type of industry that we've required in Scotland, and to find ways of kind of matching people through into industry. And that's my passion. And it's the reason why eventually I came out of schools and into working in local government, was because of the employability agenda. And those who know me and my history and other local authorities will know that that's the thing that drives me. So that I think, for me, felt quite personal, actually, seeing that in the history of Roots to Work. And of course, as John said, referencing the work of, I was talking to Councillor Paul Damasio, and we were both reflecting on the fact that, first of all, Roots to Work would always have been supported on a cross-party basis in North Lanarkshire, but I think we were both crediting the enormously powerful work of Councillor Harry Curran. And I think it is important, I say today, that we all have great respect in the council for his ongoing achievements over many years on behalf of Roots to Work. So do you want to just crack on? And I suppose we did a big review of Roots to Work in 2019 in the council just to make sure that we were getting the value for money that John was talking about. And that ended up being a very powerful piece of work. At the time, in 2019, Roots to Work had supported about 56,000 people. It was probably passing the 8,000 people into work at that point. So you can see how exponentially, if you were to draw the graph, exponentially, the numbers of people getting into work through Roots to Work is growing. And that's quite an incredible achievement. But by 2022, obviously, we are where we are. And I think it is important to say at this point, that between 2019 and 2022, the world has changed. North Lanarkshire's changed, work and life have changed. And one of the measures of the partnership between Roots to Work and North Lanarkshire Council has been that during that pandemic, a number of, I think it was about 13 Roots to Work staff were seconded to work on behalf of the emergency response of North Lanarkshire, the place through the council, to make sure that we did serve the needs of the people of North Lanarkshire, especially those who were vulnerable during that very difficult time of the lockdowns. And we're really proud of the fact that we have that relationship with the Arm's Length organisation that's able to kind of ensure that we can be nimble and flexible when meeting community needs as it emerges. So I think that probably we can maybe move on, if that's okay. I suppose I put this, first of all, I take no credit for these slides. They're done by a better man than me. The man's over there, he's called Paul Kane, top person, senior employability manager in the North Lanarkshire Council. He did these slides. I couldn't possibly do them as well as that. So you're better going to the experts, so well done, Paul Kane. But I think what Paul was trying to get across to me to get me to say in this slide is the nature of education's changing. That kind of traditional model of schooling, which was just about qualifications, and that more higher educational route has changed. And actually we need more sophisticated, flexible, versatile, work-related pathways towards success for our people. And I have one or two things to say about that as we go along. And I suppose the council's changed a lot between 2002 and 2022. The kind of governance around things like Roots to Work and the way in which they've been funded is changing a lot, because obviously the European Social Fund and some of the other funds that have been in play for a long time are now changing. So there's some new kind of Scottish Government programmes as well, and the One Left Behind, etc. But now we're moving into a new period of shared prosperity as well, and we're having to define through the partnership what that starts to look like as we go along. But it's so important, as John says, that we build on existing strengths and we tackle some of the fundamental things that we're identifying together, and we are creative in how we use those existing and new work streams, financial streams of money. So again, I'm just kind of going to run through these slides because obviously Roots to Work creates opportunities for people. And I suppose in terms of developing the young workforce, we're delighted to have the fabulous Pauline O'Neill here today, who is our DYW Education and Families Manager, who oversees that for us, who's responsible for that strategy within the council. And that's really about making sure that all children have access to work-related learning at various stages of their development within schools. But for those who need the specific pathways towards things, that we're able to create them. And for those at the greatest risk of falling through the gap and those who are furthest from the labour market, that we do specific things to help them. And it's always a challenge for us, and Pauline, if she were speaking, would say this as well. It's really, really important that we do it in such a way that it helps both the businesses. So it's interesting to hear John talking about his background, but it also helps the people, the young people who are looking for those opportunities. We can no longer satisfy ourselves by saying we have supply side programs that we just run and we think are great, if they're not applicable to what businesses actually need. The art of this in North Lanarkshire in the future is going to be matching people to opportunities, the things that Roots to Work do fantastically, but actually being demand-led, looking at where our businesses are, what it is that they actually need, and then trying to create the programs from there. hooking in the supply side programmes that way. That's the bit that really excites me. That creates a more flexible, joined up and exciting curriculum for the young people, and it creates a better pathway, and it's more about the economic power of the area by building on the strengths, the existing strengths of the businesses. I want to go for it. I have to say a bit here about the plan for North Lanarkshire. I'm representing Des Murray here today. In 2018, when Des was appointed Chief Executive of North Lanarkshire, there was a whole piece of work done in the council to review its strategy, and this was across parties, it was across a whole partnership, and we ended up agreeing with our partners, North Lanarkshire partners, planning partners, a plan for the place that is North Lanarkshire. And it's about making sure that North Lanarkshire is the best place to live, learn, work, invest and visit. And we've got people here from all across that North Lanarkshire partnership who have bought into doing that and to making that a success. I'm really proud to be able to say that I am working on behalf of that plan, and I'm proud to be able to say that to serve the people of North Lanarkshire, and I actually see how it can be a really transformational plan. And probably the whole COVID business has learned that, has helped it. It's probably interfered with this progress to a certain extent, but it's also enabled things within it in other ways, because it's helped us understand how we can maybe best collectively address the emerging needs of the place. And for me, in the plan for North Lanarkshire, and I think if Des were here, he would want me to say this anyway, but if he were here, he would say it. It really is about making sure that you have a fantastic personal, family and economic future, and that people really do live independently and well on their own terms and do economically succeed, and that all of our people achieve. And that's a beautiful, beautiful dream for me to be getting behind in my role of Deputy Chief Executive. So that's really the essence, if you like, of what I've taken from the plan for North Lanarkshire and why we all need to work together to achieve it. Go for it, Kat. And I suppose I do want to say something about culture, and this is me kind of moving, I suppose, to the congratulations piece around Roots to Work, and on behalf of the council and the wider partnership, to say thank you and congratulations to Roots to Work. And again, Paul Kane and I were talking about this, and he'd come up with a formal words for it. So I suppose I'm going to give you my take on that conversation and those words, because I think you have to say it in your own way and you have to speak from the heart on these things. I was really struck by Adele in the film, because first of all, the most important thing, if you're going to match people who are quite a significant area from the distance from the labour market to opportunities, you really need very good local knowledge about what businesses need, where the people are, what the barriers are in between, and then you need to help them get across that. That is absolutely beautiful work. That's very powerful. And in order to do it, you have to be client focused, and that's probably the wrong word for it. But you have to be person-centred in your approach. You have to really want to help the people. You have to do that with real care and dedication and love in your heart. And that's what I think I'm proud of in terms of this Alio and this partnership. So that's the first thing, that kind of client-centred approach. And I suppose on the matching people to opportunities bit, that's really expert work. And that happens through dialogue with businesses, with employers, and with people, and it happens painstakingly. So if we're saying that at the moment 21,000 people have been placed in employment by Roots to Work, that's 21,000 occasions in which a painstaking process has taken place. That's remarkable. That's dedication. That's genuinely supporting people to be enabled to live independently and well. And I suppose the other thing I think that would be important from Paul's point of view, and it is important in terms of being a key partner and in the spirit of kind of challenging one another, Roots to Work have got an excellent track record of hitting performance targets. So I worked in another local authority not too far away before I came to North Lanarkshire. We had a totally different model for post-16 partnership planning. It was more of a kind of free market commissioning model. It wasn't through the kind of the Alio type approach. And I kind of looked a bit jealously at North Lanarkshire and Roots to Work and thought, actually, that's a really interesting model, but it's just not how we had done it. We'd gone down a different path. But I think we'd have to say, performance-wise, Roots to Work has outperformed other local authority kind of areas for its work continually. And so that kind of high level of performance and the assiduousness of meeting targets, I think, has to be recognised. And I think I'm here to do that today. And I suppose, and again, this is maybe a word I'm kind of a bit nervous about using, but I suppose people know Roots to Work. There's a lot of talk about kind of brand presence, isn't there, in the world, and how knowledgeable are people about the work that organisations do. People in North Lanarkshire know what Roots to Work will do for you. They'll know how they help you. And it's a great testament to that from Adele, wasn't it? Who was a great champion for it, and that's speaking from the heart about what it had done for her as a process, as an organisation. But it's got that penetration, doesn't it, into the culture of the place it is, North Lanarkshire. So it's become this key vehicle by which people succeed. So I suppose I'm here today, in summary, and I'm going to kind of finish up now. I'm in summary saying to everyone here, North Lanarkshire Council is extremely proud of Roots to Work. We're very proud of our partnership with Roots to Work. We're very proud of everybody who works for Roots to Work, and we're very proud of everybody who has been helped by Roots to Work. And we're proud of those 21,000 people, and we're proud of the fact that we know that that's a legacy that continues on in the future. And I'm here to say thank you on behalf of North Lanarkshire Council on this great day of celebration for you all. And I'm sure I'm going to ask all the partners in the room to thank you as well. So thank you, Roots to Work.
Well, thank you to John and Derek for setting everything up for today, talking through the agenda and setting the scene of where we are, and for everyone, particularly Adele, who's been rightly highlighted, who took part in the video presentation to kick us off today, and what a way to start. All of that gave us an interesting and insightful look into how the economy in North Lanarkshire has evolved to bring us where we are today. In the event so far, we've provided some reflection on where Roots to Work has been as an organisation over the past 20 years, and we're now moving into the section celebrating our recent client successes. One of the programmes we were part of the delivery of over the last few years was the Kickstart scheme, which was a £2 billion UK government scheme which provided funding to employers to create new 6-month job placements for young people aged 16 to 24 who were on universal credit and at risk of being long-term unemployed. In 2020, Roots to Work partnered with Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire and agreed to act as an intermediary for third sector organisations who were working with VANEL. The purpose of the partnership was to help young people develop core and employability skills to enable sustained change and be better equipped for future employment. VANEL coordinated the third sector's interest and involvement while liaising with Roots to Work in passing over the information, and then we would manage the finance, processes and employee relationships. The really meant that not-for-profit employers have been able to participate in the scheme and offer young people opportunities that they otherwise may not have been able to do so. And through this partnership between Roots to Work and VANEL, we were able to change 70 lives by providing employment opportunities in the third sector through an excess of £300,000 investment via wage grants brought into North Lanarkshire. One of the beneficiaries of this partnership and investment is now going to tell you his story, and I would like to invite Max Blaszczyk to the stage.
Thank you, Gary. This is my first time presenting in front of this many people, so you'll have to bear with me. November 2021. I just graduated and I felt lost. I'd been working so hard on my final project that I could not see the forest through the trees. I found myself applying for many different jobs, frantically, in many different industries, and without a plan. I stumbled upon a Kickstart opportunity for a martial arts gym. I've always loved martial arts and fitness, and this job gave me the opportunity to work with martial artists, but also work with the athletes to improve their performance. It was perfect. So I applied for the job, and I got an interview the next day. It must have gone well because I got the job. The job was great, apart from the travel. And after a while, I got a message from Johnny Walker, my designated Kickstart worker. I had no idea what to expect, as I logged into that first Teams meeting. Little did I know it was the start of the most productive working relationship of my life. Johnny greeted me, and I instantly felt comfortable. His no-nonsense style really got the best out of me. One second, sorry, I just can't remember where I am. His no-nonsense style really got the best out of me. Initially, I was happy with my job, just happy to have work. I told this to Johnny on our first session and quickly found out that I should reconsider. Through the course of our meetings, I developed fast. It started with a small essay telling my story. Johnny loved it, and so asked for some more work, a presentation and a trailer. I took these tasks very seriously, constructing a shot list, filming in multiple locations, and editing it by myself despite having lackluster equipment. They both went well. And the trailer is arguably the reason that I'm standing here today in front of you all. It helped me to stand out from the crowd, and I believe it is an invaluable tool for those seeking employment. So I logged on to that next Zoom meeting to show Johnny what I had made, unsure of what he would think. I was excited and a little nervous. But he loved it, and he gave me some very useful constructive criticism that I then used to produce the final version. Through the course of our journey together, I had transformed. The meetings served as a continual wake-up call and a source of motivation. I'd become disillusioned with my job, traveling nearly 4 hours per day and working very hard for what felt like very little reward. My options felt exhausted, and so did I. But I now had a direction, and through the support I had received, I had unlocked my confidence. That is the potential power that this organization possesses. So now I have a package for potential employers and a plan. Currently, I'm studying for my personal trainer qualifications and constructing a business with a fellow graduate to help athletes improve their performance. That is thanks to the support I received from Roots to Work and Johnny. And that is about it. I'm so thankful to be a part of this small organization, well, not small, but this organization that has helped 20,000 people change their lives. The rest is now up to me, and we're going to show you the trailer here that I constructed. Thank you.
Lost my heart and lost my soul. Now it's time that you don't know. Lost my mind and lost my goal. Not giving in. I'm not giving in.
Thank you, Max, and I don't believe that's your first time doing that. Some of us need to swap places, but that was fantastic. And thanks for sharing that experience of your journey and where you are today. And we'll be excited to hear about your continued success and growth in the future. So the theme of today's event, as you all know, is to celebrate the 20,000 lives changed through Roots to Work. And we managed to identify who that number 20,000 was. And I'm delighted to say that they've travelled here today from Crieff and brought their mum along with her as well. And I'm delighted to be able to share her story. And I would first like to invite Councillor Paul Damasio, who is also the convener of Enterprise Growth and Fair Work, to join me on stage to support with the presentation. So our client is Catherine Scorgie, who is sitting here right centre of the front row where she belongs today. And I've got some notes to read out. I hope I do them justice for you. So Catherine first registered with Roots to Work in October 2019 after meeting one of our community engagement workers and then being referred to her allocated caseworker, Janice Shilliday. But she managed to overcome that barrier. And I only said that because Max promised to give me handers later this afternoon. So Janice completed a bespoke action plan with Catherine, and she said this week that she remembers asking what a dream job would be, to which Catherine told her she just wanted to bake cakes. At the time, Catherine had no real work experience and confided that she was looking to build her confidence before thinking about taking anything up. To progress with Roots to Work, Catherine attended a range of courses, including Building Confidence and Self-Esteem and a Spring Forward routeway, which included PX2 delivery. These were designed to help build self-esteem in clients before moving on to employability skills. And on completion, Catherine began taking other courses on interview preparation, application workshops, and a range of mock interviews with their training team. Catherine was then successful in getting a work placement to give her a taster of what work would be like. And it was in May 2021 when we got news that Catherine had been offered a position as a kitchen assistant in the Royal Hotel in Crieff. Catherine weighed up her options and accepted the job while also making the move to Crieff and renting a new flat, which was a huge step for her. This was a busy role where she was working full-time and gained experience carrying out different duties around the kitchen. And Catherine kept in touch with Roots to Work through her in-work support advisor, Mary Hunter, who had noted that it was long shifts, but every time she spoke to Catherine, she was always really happy at work and taking on every opportunity to learn everything she could in that role. And it was this learning and experience that allowed Catherine to apply to Crieff Hydro towards the end of last year. And she was successful and moved to her dream job as pastry chef. So now she gets to spend her days baking those cakes she told Janice about way back at the start. So everything's worked out well. And just hot off the press, to finish what I was saying, Catherine has given me a little quote before I came on today. And again, I hope I do you justice here, Catherine. If not, Janice is going to do me an anyway. So from Catherine, I'm still standing. I wouldn't be where I am today without Roots to Work support and Janice's support through the whole way through. 1,000 thank yous for everything. It's an amazing feeling to be your 20,000th person to be helped into work. Keep going strong and into the future. Thank you.
Can I just say, first of all, as the newly appointed convener for Enterprise Growth and Fair Work, it's a bit of a mouthful, and the council, the new council representative replacing the aforementioned Harry, on Roots to Work, I'm very much looking forward to working with the organisation in the coming years. Can I say a huge thank you to the team at Roots to Work for the vital work that you do in North Lanarkshire, which has been clearly evidenced today, and you really do make a difference to literally thousands of people's lives in North Lanarkshire. Catherine's story perfectly showcases the work that you do at Roots to Work. Catherine, oops, apologies, first person to do that. Catherine, it's wonderful to see your journey and what you've achieved through your hard work and dedication, having worked with Roots to Work. And it's wonderful to see you landing your dream job. And I wish you every success in the future. And with that, I would just like to ask you, Catherine, for a token of our appreciation.
Being part of the 20,000 celebration, I'm so proud because that's a huge number, and every single day it's growing. We have surpassed that and so much more, and it makes you feel so excited about the future. What we're going to do for the next 20,000, and I'm just so excited for that day to come.
Roots to Work are a light in the community, and they are there for each individual and very enthusiastic about making someone's life, making a positive change in someone's life and giving them the opportunities that they can flourish.
Roots to Work has really changed my life. It's brought my confidence back, it's given me skills that I didn't know I had. I've been able to improve on skills that I already had previously. The company's great to work for. They've got great initiatives going on as well. So my journey with Roots to Work so far has been really positive.
Look what you've done, look what you've achieved. And it's not just the 20,000 people, it's the ripple effect. Those 20 exponentially make 100,000, 200,000. Children are not in poverty because of Roots to Work. People are not in pain with mental health issues because of Roots to Work.
I would like to congratulate Roots to Work on having their 20,000th client, and I think it's amazing, and I can't wait to follow the journey.
Whatever barriers somebody needs a bit of help with, Roots to Work are very good at being able, or the staff at Roots to Work are very good at spending time talking to people, building their confidence, finding out about them, what they need, what help they need, and then accessing that help where possible. So I think there's a lot of compassion, there's a lot of enthusiasm as well, which then helps build the concept of the person working with.
I think Roots to Work has made a phenomenal difference in North Lanarkshire. You only need to look at the figure 20,000 people into work to realise that, but it's the impact of everything. You know, those folk were unemployed and then they go into work, they're contributing to the system, they're valued for their qualifications that they've received, they're in a job, they get self-confidence back. It's just amazing the difference it makes.
The best thing for me about dealing with Roots to Work is the people. Very, very strong admiration for the way they don't lose faith in the kids. Even with the most difficult ones, they're always a they'll sit down and speak to them. There's a quiet word of encouragement. They're determined not to give up on these kids, because I suspect that maybe a year ago these kids probably thought that school was giving up on them. Maybe people on the outside weren't giving them enough support, and all of a sudden these people that they didn't know are trying to put them back in a positive journey.
My favourite thing about working with Roots to Work is the lives that you change. People come to me and they're maybe just out of prison. I've had people that's committed murder, and they feel that they come out and they've got nothing to offer. And working with them, give them confidence, and then they automatically tell you about their family. They tell you about how you're trusting them, you're supporting them, you're guiding them, and they're so grateful for the support. And I mean, we're putting people every day into work, and they don't think that they deserve it. And still, when they move into work, they still can't believe that there's somebody that actually was there, had their back and was supported. So my favourite thing is the lives that you change. I mean, one of the best ones was we helped a 69-year-old man move into 2 jobs after his wife passed away. So who else can say that? It's great. Love it.
On behalf of all the young people that you've helped real time put into work, a heartfelt thank you from everyone within the organisation for the opportunities that you've given those young people. And also, as a resident in North Lanarkshire, a heartfelt thank you for the amazing achievement of putting 20,000 people into work, and the significant increase in the well-being across North Lanarkshire that has resulted in. Well done to everybody at Roots to Work. I know it doesn't always seem like it's appreciated, but it absolutely is. And I sit from the sidelines as a partner and employer, and admire Roots to Work and the people who work for it. And long may your long reach.
So we're all here today, as we know, the theme celebrating the 20,000 lives changed through Roots to Work. You might have got from today that we aren't a team who settle, and indeed you've heard that figure has already moved beyond 21,000. When coupled with our sustainability rate, which sits around 75%, what that means is 3 in every 4 of those people moving into work sustain there for 6 months or more, which is an incredible achievement. And as impressive as the numbers are today, we recognise and accept the scale of the challenge in addressing poverty and inequality. We want to go beyond the numbers. You've heard about the average cost per person to move through our service into employment and the economic value to society that has. But what we want to be able to measure are the intangibles that the numbers don't show, the wider financial and non-financial value created through all of our day-to-day activities. We want to continue to reduce poverty by providing sector-leading employability and skills in the hearts of communities, and in doing so, contribute to improving the economy, reducing poverty gaps, and creating a society where everyone has a good quality of life. In recent times, we've designed a lot of our services in line with our vision to reach the people who would benefit most from our support, and made commitments to communities facing inequalities. An example of this is seen through our commitment to have a dedicated caseworker team working with any young person who identifies as LGBT, and by signing up as an LGBT charter member in Scotland. And for Roots to Work, it's known that an understanding of providing different and better services, understanding diversity, and making sense of those intangible issues that affect different groups can vastly improve our client services and help us to achieve our mission that you've just seen. And with all of that in mind and looking forward, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Lawrence Zablanka, our Business Improvement Partner, who's going to talk to you about our Knowledge Transfer Partnership and Social Value Framework.
Thank you, Gary, and hello everyone. It's lovely to see you all. It's very difficult to follow from all those wonderful presentations, but I'll try my best. I'm Lauren Zablanka, as Gary mentioned, and I am the Business Improvement Partner, or KTP Associate at Roots to Work. I'm honoured today to be speaking on behalf of the Knowledge Transfer Partnership between Roots to Work and the University of the West of Scotland. As Gary mentioned, this project is integral to our vision for the future, and for better understanding and optimizing our positive impact on clients, communities, and the wider society. So although, next slide please, although some of you, on the agenda today, we'll be talking about firstly what a KTP is and our partnership with the University of the West of Scotland. We'll also be covering our key objectives for the project. And finally, I will delve into the social value evaluation framework, why it's important to us, our approach to social value evaluation, and our next steps for the future. Okay, so as defined by our funders, Innovate UK, KTN, a KTP is links forward-thinking businesses with the UK's world-class knowledge bases to deliver innovation projects led by inspired graduates. And KTPs have been going for about 45 years across the UK in a wide range of sectors with over 800 current projects. So as you can see in this diagram, KTPs are a three-way partnership. So between a knowledge base, in our case, the University of the West of Scotland, a company, in our case, Roots to Work, and the graduate or the KTP associate, which is myself. And the central aim of these KTP projects really is to transfer knowledge between these three partners. Okay, so more specifically, our KTP represents a strategic partnership between Roots to Work and the University of the West of Scotland. The significance of this project is underlined by the substantial funding that we have gotten from the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy through Innovate UK, KTN. And the Roots to Work KTP is also uniquely innovative as we are one of the first, if not the only, management KTPs in the third sector, which really evidences how impactful this project can be for both the third sector and the employability landscape. Our KTP team is also uniquely large and multidisciplinary, as we have 9 UWS academics supporting us from both the School of Health and Life Sciences and the School of Business and Creative Industries. And with the support and expertise of these sector-leading academic minds, and also with our wonderful team at Roots to Work, this KTP is hoping to provide innovation for Roots to Work and for beyond for the next 20 months. Okay, so the key project objectives of this KTP is outlined in this quote here from our funding application, and that's to upskill and empower management in the areas of strategy and strategic planning, econometric modeling, service innovation, and organizational change, which we hope will underpin growth, geographical expansion, and improve service delivery. To achieve these aims, the KTP has a number of outputs. The real heart of the KTP is the social value evaluation framework, which we'll be focusing on today. Which will help us better understand how we impact through our employability and skills services. In addition, we also have performed a situational analysis, and we intend to create a digital content strategy, a virtual reality ecosystem to be piloted in schools, and a promotional strategy as well. Okay, so as I mentioned, the creation and embedding of this social value evaluation framework is the real heart of the KTP for Roots to Work. The importance of measuring, understanding, and optimizing our positive impact on the world around us is really important to us at Roots to Work and for our future as well. So there are three central reasons for this charitable and strategic importance. So primarily, social value has long been a foundational to the UK and the Scottish Government as well. So 2022 is actually the 10-year anniversary of the UK Government's Social Value Act, which required people who commission public services to think more about how they have a benefit economically, environmentally, and socially as well. So for the future of employability too, both the UK and Scottish Government are looking to focus more on the social impact of their services, how clients' progression and their journeys lead to more wide-ranging outcomes other than jobs. In addition, we hope that evaluating social value will help us share and celebrate progression and outcomes with clients themselves, staff, and as a business. And we hope to move beyond just an economic perspective, as Gary mentioned, and move towards understanding the social value to our clients, staff, communities, and wider society. Okay. So as part of the KTP's Project Innovation, we are developing our own approach to social value at Roots to Work. There are a number of key components to this approach that we've considered. So firstly, we've made sure that our methods align with the Scottish Government's Shared Measurement Framework, which is an employability framework establishing a shared understanding of how outcomes and progress are linked. As a Social Value UK member myself, and having been trained in social return on investment, we are also aligning our methods with Social Value UK's principles, which is the National Network for Social Value Leaders. We've also, of course, been utilising all of the wonderful expertise from UWS, both from the School of Health and Life Sciences and Business and Creative Industries. And our actual approach, the methods for measuring, have been both quantitative and qualitative, so numeric and also interviews and focus groups. Our approach has also been ethically approved by the UWS ethics community to make sure that we're minimising any harm or risk to our clients and participants. And then key really to the last part of this, which is the important part of our approach, is to currently pilot the framework with a group of clients. And this is with a view to further refine the framework. Okay. So what are we actually measuring? We are measuring 6 of these key domains of impact and outcomes that our clients experience, which also reflects the tool that our work staff members use to support client progression. So this includes health, well-being, support networks, skills, finances, and of course, confidence and motivation, which we've heard a bit about today. These domains will be measured through a range of validated and benchmarkable indicators, so we can understand how it fits in the local and national context. And as a result, when we account for our social value, we'll be considering both the value to our clients and the public purse. So what's next for our social value framework and Roots to Work? So from this framework, we're intending to create a digital product or consultancy to really share that knowledge gained with other organizations and local authority areas. And we hope to enhance the best practice in social value measurement within the employability landscape. We're also, as an organization, committed to embedding social value, as we intend to become an organizational member of Social Value UK and commit to social value accounting that's principled, and also ensure that our service delivery model optimizes our positive impact. So as a result of the incredible efforts of our team at Roots to Work and also at UWS, we intend to empower organizations, funders, and clients to understand and celebrate the client journey in its entirety and the intangible benefits of our services to the wider community and society. We look forward to a future where Roots to Work can drive forward the social value movement, and we look forward to how all of us here today can work together to create a society where everyone has a good quality of life. So thank you for listening today, and on to Gary.
Thanks, Lauren, for an overview of the work we've started looking at improvement and growth as an organisation and how we'll be measuring the impact that we have on individuals and communities. For our next speaker, our penultimate speaker, I would like to invite Fiona Whittaker, Head of People and Organisational Development at North Lanarkshire Council, and is also a member of the Roots to Work board, who is going to talk to us about the workforce for the future.
Okay, thank you, Gary, for that introduction, and I'm glad that Gary had to read out my formal job title within the council. I did rather chuckle at him struggling over the last few words in that. I have to say at the outset, I didn't choose that job title, but they wouldn't let me change it. So I'm a bit stuck like Councillor Damasio with a massive long job title, which I'm not going to read out now. So apart from that role, which is also a fundamental part of the council's corporate management team, I am the programme lead for the workforce for the future strategy. Now, this afternoon, I've been asked to give you a bit of an insight into what that strategy is actually all about. They've also given me 5 minutes to do that, so a bit of a challenge, but not to say that I'm not up for that. So in terms of the workforce for the future strategy, I'm sure that you are increasingly either beginning to see it on presentations or to hear it talked about. But I want to just spend a bit of time before I go into the detail talking about the context of that strategy, which is very important. And there's a lot of resonance between what we're doing with the strategy and what we're intending to do with it, and actually what you've heard today from a number of colleagues. So in keeping with our theme for this afternoon of looking to the future, the question that I suppose that's on all of your minds is, why would the council at this point set out a workforce for the future strategy, and actually what does that mean in practice? So the council's work in this area actually goes back to 2019, when we had very specific feedback from the Fairness Commission about our employability services landscape in North Lanarkshire, and what they told us at that time was that it was fragmented, but also, more importantly, that it was actually failing to have the impact on inclusive growth that we were seeking at that time. So since that work and the feedback, the actual Workforce for the Future strategy, and we've been working on it since 2019, has evolved considerably. And within that, what we've done is set out to learn as much as we possibly can about the unique employment challenges facing North Lanarkshire. These include the fact that despite North Lanarkshire being one of the fastest growing economies in Scotland, it still has a lower than average weekly wage and one of the lowest levels of qualification in Scotland. Now, some of that, if you really begin to dig deep around it, is generational, and certainly some of it will hark back to what we saw in the very much the past element of what we've covered today around that post-manufacturing, post-decline in big industrial areas where that has led to people not taking on qualifications and not progressing, because in the past it was probably easier to step straight out of school and step straight into entry-level jobs, and you could basically guarantee a good support for your family over that period that you were in that job. And it was also a secure job. It secured you and your family for a number of years, but the world has changed significantly. So given that we still see that pattern, it leaves us in a position where we have to consider how we change that pattern. And more importantly, we know that if that pattern continues, so in a low skills, low wage profile economy, we know that people get trapped in low pay, so in poverty in effect, and they don't have the bridges, they don't have the pathways you've heard talk about, and they don't have the support to get out of those low paid, insecure work jobs. And that brings poverty. It also brings other hardships and challenges, including deprivation and health inequalities that I know many of the Roots to Work people in this room meet in your roles with your clients every day in your communities. At the other end of our labour market, the council has also sought to work with and talk to businesses. And that's about understanding their needs, but probably more importantly, also beginning to map what the future employment demand is going to be within North Lanarkshire, particularly in growth sectors. What we've heard consistently from our employers in these sectors is that many are struggling to recruit the skilled labour they need. And this problem has only been exacerbated by Brexit and the impact of the pandemic. So bridging this challenging, growing gap between the skills and talent we actually have in our own local workforce and the types of employment opportunities that are now increasingly available in our growth sectors goes to the heart of what this strategy is all about. You've already heard from my colleagues within the council that it's also about ensuring that the jobs and opportunities that are going to start to appear, if they're not here already, go first and foremost to the local people in our communities. And that's very much part of the heart of the plan for North Lanarkshire that Derek Brown already covered with you. So if I move on to talk about the strategy itself, Kat, I know this is a busy slide, but it's the easiest way for me to capture on one page what the strategy is actually about. So if we talk about the strategy itself, this slide sets out the main building blocks and the priority work streams within the strategy, which you'll be glad to hear I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. But I think what's really important about this slide is it shows that the council has a unique position in that we're able to leverage considerable services, resources and funding the full way across the labour market, from our schools to our strong ongoing partnerships in the employability and skills sectors and our direct links with employers and employment sectors. We also know from our work within the strategy that the solution to bridging the sector skills and recruitment gaps that we have identified lies in building robust and connected vocational and skills development pathways in our primary growth sectors. In particular, in the green and in the purple, our employment sectors within construction and green jobs and health and social care are widely understood to be in a position where they will dwarf, so in terms of job opportunities, they will dwarf every other sector within North Lanarkshire. I think it's also important to say that the opportunities within those sectors are not just driven by new jobs. So we tend a lot of the time in employability to think about new jobs, where the new jobs coming from, but a significant proportion of the jobs that will be available in those two sectors are going to be what we would call replacement demand. So we do have, particularly in health and social care, a significant issue with an ageing demographic. So people will leave the workplace. And what my employability colleagues and Paul often talks to me about this have also seen through the pandemic is where we rely on that sort of ageing demographic. A good example within the council is our home care service. Critical service within the council, but the majority of staff in that service are women over 50 who do the job, particularly to be able to work but also support their family. But we've seen a lot of the people in that sector decide through the pandemic that the job has now become more challenging for them, more difficult. And most recently, the council approved an additional payment for them for transport costs because a lot of those individuals use their own cars for work. And they're now really struggling, quite frankly, to pay the cost of the petrol. Even though we reimburse them, it's not enough. So there are some real challenges post-pandemic that will drive that replacement demand, and that is now what we're beginning to see in those sectors. So what do we mean then when we talk about pathways? So I want to get really specific about what do we actually mean when we talk about a pathway. So if we just move on to the next slide, if we're saying that pathways are absolutely critical. Well, what I've done is I've provided you with a copy of a pathway that we've put together within the council. And this was developed to support a huge expansion in our early learning and childcare services under the umbrella of our Care Academy. Through this pathway and over a time frame of roughly 2 years, We've not only recruited almost 400 new employees from North Lanarkshire into the entry-level support workers. You might just be able to see there are some roles at the bottom of this pathway which are support workers and key worker posts. Support worker posts in particular are what we call entry-level posts, so they don't require individuals to have a level of experience or qualification. But what's really important is that we've built a pathway that is supported by qualification routes, and we're actually seeing people move up that pathway in terms of qualification routes. So in addition to the 400 new employees we recruited into those posts, we were able to support over 200 foundation apprenticeships, 50 modern apprenticeships, and 30, most important for me, 30 career changers. So people who may have been caught in different sectors that were impacted over the pandemic that have moved into a sector that is more able to offer them better, secure, longer-term employment and even progression. It's also important to note that all of the qualifications that are within this pathway have been developed in partnership with the further and higher education sectors, and I know there are a number of colleagues from those sectors in this room. It's also funded, all the qualifications are actually funded through the council's levy. So the council pays that levy, whether it likes it or not, but we're not often able to get the value back from that levy. But pathways like this enable us to draw that value back and actually add that value to the communities within North Lanarkshire. So in the next phase of this work, we will be increasingly focused on building out new vocational and training pathway programmes, particularly within those growth sectors under the umbrella of our academy model. This includes the most recent announcement regarding work underway to develop a construction academy, which will be delivered through a partnership between the council, the higher and further education sectors, and employers, including our own supply chain. So we just move on to the final slide. So this final slide sets out our aims and objectives for the strategy and the next phase of the work. But I want to take the time now just to bring this back to a few key messages which link to the themes of today. Simply put, we know that this strategy is ambitious, but we also know that the council cannot deliver it alone. At its most fundamental level, the Workforce for the Future strategy is seeking to change the patterns of employment that have stymied our residents from making the progression that we want to see them make. So it's about engaging, it's about educating, it's about upskilling, it's about reskilling. And we want to engage people of all ages and with all types of barriers. And the reason we want to do that is that we want to be able to connect them with the very real employment and progression opportunities which are available in our growth sectors now and in the future. As has already been outlined by my colleagues, I also want to underline that our partnership with Roots to Work is vital to that goal. In particular, and in my short time as a member of the board, I've come to appreciate the real strength of a team which has delivered an exceptional track record with its clients over the last 20 years. And in my personal view, one of the real strengths of Roots to Work is its unique ability to deliver reach and presence on the ground, engaging our residents and driving a positive impact in our communities every day. It's a real strength for me, and it really is unique and a delight to both be part of and to hear about today. So finally, I want to warmly congratulate, along with my colleagues, Roots to Work for their amazing achievement today. And I look forward to being part of the next phase of your journey and the exciting times ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona, for that very interesting detailed presentation, and I must admit that job title was a bit of a tongue-tire before, so apologies for that. And just to take us on to our final guest speaker today is the recently appointed leader of the council in North Lanarkshire, Councillor Jordan Linden. Due to other commitments, he is unable to attend in person today, but has recorded a video for us. And just to extend a thank you to Councillor Linden for taking time to do that in what is a busy schedule at the moment, and we hope to see him face to face at one of our future events.
As the new leader of North Lanarkshire Council, I'm delighted to be joining your conference today. I am truly sorry that I can't be there in person with all of you, especially after the challenges of the pandemic over the last few years. But I was keen to ensure I still contributed to today's event, and so here I am on the big screen. As a local councillor for Bells Hill, Roots to Work are on my doorstep, and I am privileged to have the chance today to recognise the support and to work they've provided to now some 20,000 North Lanarkshire residents since they were established in 2002. That's an average of 1,000 people a year since they began to deliver services on behalf of North Lanarkshire Council. Truly staggering. This is a real accomplishment, and it's right that we mark it today. And we should look beyond the obvious rewards that employment brings for each individual. Of course, the social and economic rewards for each individual are significant. However, we should consider the wider context, and only then do we appreciate the scale of this achievement. If you're a family member of one of these 20,000 individuals, a parent, a brother, a sister, a partner, a child, a friend, imagine the impact this positive news will have on them. Of course, there is the increase in financial security that comes from a family member getting a job, and the pride that these people would all share. But the impact is wider than that, and we know that people in work and their families have improved mental and physical health, improved outcomes for their children, and increased quality of life. For me, in an even wider context, it means that Roots to Work has played a significant role in ensuring that our residents across our communities have been included in the economic growth of North Lanarkshire, and that our businesses have gained employees who are ready to work and support their growth. So while the number of people supported into work is 20,000, a much higher number of people have had their lives improved by this achievement, meaning that Roots to Work is helping this council achieve its ambition of making North Lanarkshire the place to live, learn, work, invest and visit. This accomplishment we are celebrating today is built on strong foundations, and one of these is the ethos of Roots to Work and its team in their approach to working with people in partnership and dealing with them with respect and as individuals. For them, it's about the right job for the right person and ensuring that work is fair and sustainable, and I know you will hear many examples of this today. But clearly this success is also based on the strong partnership between North Lanarkshire Council and Roots to Work. This council has always had a deep belief that it has a proactive role to play in making sure our residents have the support they need in finding work, whether it's our young people leaving school and looking for their first opportunity, or whether it's people who have faced challenges in their life and need that extra bit of help to get the training and skills they need to find a job. I believe the council's commitment to providing opportunities for our residents through access to work has played a major part in the decision of the council to work with Roots to Work. We know they get results, but more importantly they do it in a way that is compatible with their own belief that every one of our residents deserves the chance to be included and to have opportunities presented to them. And over the last 20 years together, we have developed a close relationship which is based on respect for our mutual strengths, values and achievements, and has been completely focused on supporting our communities. I want to say this. The new administration I now lead in the council and our commitment to our communities remains absolute and steadfast. In my first address to council, as a new council leader, I highlighted our commitment to increasing opportunities for people and businesses in North Lanarkshire and to building an inclusive and sustainable economy that provides jobs for local people. And I look forward to continuing to build on our partnership with Roots to Work to ensure that we deliver on this commitment, because we know that success is about everyone in our communities sharing in our economic growth. So, in closing, on behalf of the council, I want to congratulate you on your phenomenal achievement and thank you for the consistent and exemplary service to our communities over the last 20 years. Please enjoy your celebration today and, dare I say, on Monday morning, start on getting the next 20,000 into work here in North Lanarkshire. I hope to see all of you soon. Thank you.
You can't stop an avalanche as it races down the hill. You can try to stop the seasons, girl, but you know you never will. And you could try to stop my dancing feet, but I just cannot stand still. 'Cause the world keeps spinning round and round, my heart keeping time to the speed of sound. I was lost till I heard the drums and I found my way. 'Cause you can't stop the beat. Ever since this whole world began, a woman found out she could shake up a man. So I'm gonna shake and shimmy, it's the best that I can today. 'Cause you can't stop the motion of the ocean, of the sun and the sky. You could wonder if you wanna, but I never inquire. And if you try to hold me down, I'm gonna spit in your eye and say that you can't stop the beat. You can't stop the river as it rushes to the sea.
You can try to stop the hands of time, but you know it just can't be.
And if they try to stop what's seaweed, I'll call the NAACP. 'Cause the world keeps spinning round and round, and my heart keeping time to the speed of sound. I heard the drums and I found my way. 'Cause you can't stop the beat. Ever since we first saw the light, I met a woman like to shake it on a Saturday night. So I'm gonna shake and shimmy it with all of my might today. 'Cause you can't stop the motion of the ocean or the rain from above. You can try to stop the paradise we're dreaming of, but you cannot stop the rhythm of two hearts in love to stay. 'Cause you can't stop the beat.
Oh, you can't stop today as it comes speeding down the track. Child, yesterday is history and it's never coming back. 'Cause tomorrow is a brand new day and you don't know white from black. 'Cause the world keeps spinning round and round and my heart's keeping time to the speed of sound. I was lost till I heard the drums and I found my way. 'Cause you can't stop the beat. Ever since we first saw the light, a man and woman like to shake it on a Saturday night. And so I'm gonna shake and shimmy it with all of my might today. 'Cause you can't stop the motion of the ocean or the rain from above. They can try to stop the paradise we're dreaming of, but you cannot stop the rhythm of two hearts in love to stay. 'Cause you can't stop the beat. Ever since we first saw the sign, a man and woman like to shake it when the day is done. So we wanna shake and shimmy and have some fun for today. You can't stop the motion of the ocean or the rain from above. You can try to stop the paradise we're dreaming of, but you cannot stop the rhythm of two hearts in love to stay. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat.
Yeah, good to go. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Very quickly, I'll introduce myself. I know most people here. I've had the pleasure of meeting most people. For those I haven't met, my name's Robin Turner and I'm Chief Executive of Roots to Work. It's been my honour and privilege. John mentioned earlier on, I was the first employee of Roots to Work way back in October 2002, and I was actually speaking to Linda Johnson earlier on and saying that for the first 11 days that I worked with Roots to Work, there was no such thing as Roots to Work. I was employed by a company that didn't exist. So it was a bit of a leap of faith that someone was actually going to emerge out of it, that I took the job. And I think in all of those 20 years, that's probably the hardest act I'm going to ever have to follow. So I hope I do some justice to it. I'm very conscious we're a wee bit over time. If you could just indulge me, folks, for 5 minutes, I think it's really important to say a big thank you to everybody that made today happen. These things don't just happen. So it's really important that we thank everybody for their contribution to today's event. But before I do that, just to kind of reflect on the word pride has been used a lot today by a lot of people, and there's nobody more proud in this auditorium today than I am, having been involved in the organisation for 20 years and hearing all of the really pleasing things that people say about us, about the contribution that the organisation makes to the kind of social fabric of North Lanarkshire and the impact that it has on people and communities across North Lanarkshire. And interestingly, Councillor Linden, the leader of the council, was talking there. He kind of chunked it down a bit, and we've been talking about 20,000 today. But sometimes I think big numbers don't have a real impact, and Councillor Linden chunked it down to 1,000 people a year. But I always bring it back to how many people has that helped. Every single day that a Roots to Work office has been open since October 2002. And when you do the maths on it, it's 4.4 people every single working day since October 2002 that have been helped into employment by this organisation. 21 people every single week since October 2002 have been helped into employment by the efforts of this organisation. So I hope all of my colleagues from Roots to Work, that work in Roots to Work, and the directors and trustees of Roots to Work share my sense of pride in the work that we've done and the achievements that we've made. In terms of my role here is really just to kind of do the vote of thanks. So there's a lot of people to thank. So I would ask you maybe just to keep your applause right to the end, and we can thank everybody all at the same time. Otherwise, we'll be here at 5 o'clock tonight. So firstly, a specific thanks to everybody that contributed directly to the event today. So firstly to John McDougall, our interim chair, for his welcoming introduction to the event, his reflections of his time as a trustee and his pride in the organisation, and most importantly his acknowledgement of the work of our previous chair, Harry Curran, who was here for almost 20 years and sadly can't be here today with us as a result of a family bereavement. But you know, the work that Harry did on behalf of the organisation and the stewardship was nothing short of remarkable. So thank you, John. Thanks also to Derek Brown, who's had to nip off. He's got another commitment, but his reflections also on the changes in the last 20 years, and also importantly about his view about how North Lanarkshire Council and Roots to Work can work together into the future and help make an even more effective transition for young people in education to move from the world of education into the world of work. To Max Blaszczyk, that was a phenomenal presentation, Max, really well done. Thanks very much for sharing your story with us, articulating how your life has been changed by the programme you were involved in, and most specifically by an ex-colleague of ours, Johnny Walker. Thanks very much, Johnny, for all the work that you did on Kickstart for Max and every other participant. And I'm sure you'll agree, Max is a kind of remarkable and inspiring young man, and we wish him all the best for the future. Councillor Paul Damascio, thank you very much for coming up and standing in the Provost stead and doing the presentation today. And I look forward to working with you in the future as well, Councillor Damascio, and in terms of your new role in enterprise growth and fair work, if I got that right. So thank you for that. Probably one of the biggest thank yous is to Catherine for coming along and being with us today. Catherine's our 20,000th job entry, and for allowing us to share your story, Catherine, with everybody here today, and coming along down from Perthshire and being accompanied by your mum and sharing the day with us. So thank you very much for that, Kathleen. All our contributors to What Do People Say About Us video, that was really interesting. You know, it's not about us, you know, saying what we do and how impactful it is. So to all the previous clients, staff, partners and colleagues within the business community of North Lanarkshire, who generously took their time a couple of weeks ago to go and contribute to that video and share their thoughts and experience of working with Roots to Work and many kind of things that they said about us. Thanks to Lauren, our talented KTP associate, who very eloquently outlined our ambitious plans to develop a academically robust social value evaluation framework, and that doesn't trip off the tongue. And that's really designed to, as Lauren said, go beyond the economics, capture the real social value of the work that Roots to Work does. Thanks to Fiona for her input and the brief overview of the Council's Workforce for the Future strategy, highlighting the key role that Roots to Work will play in support and delivery of that. Thanks also remotely to Councillor Jordan Linden for the video message, recognising the achievements of Roots to Work, and most importantly for us, confirming the ongoing political support of the important part that skills and employability plays in the socio-economic regeneration of North Lanarkshire, and really look forward to working closely with Councillor Linden and the Council in delivering on that in the future. A really big thank you to the fabulous young dancers from NC Dance who brought proceedings to an end on such a high note, and also a final thanks for the day to Gary Douglas for acting as our MC for the day. I know that colleagues within Roots to Work realise this, the rest of the audience might not know, but you maybe got a sense that Gary is really quite a shy, retiring individual who just likes to blend into the background. He doesn't like the limelight, so he did really well in bringing things together today. So thanks for that, Gary. Moving on, a more general thanks to everyone who worked behind the scenes to make today such a success and run so smoothly. So a thank you to Sandra McLaughlin and our large support team from New College Lanarkshire, supporting with all of the logistics, including the tech support, the catering, the music, the equipment, and the social media. So thank you to Sandra and her team. Thank you to Kat Leatherby and the event team from Roots to Work, who've been working tirelessly since the start of the year, putting the event together and all of the promotional activity that preceded that. So Kat has threatened to get very drunk tonight, and she might even wait till she gets home before she does it. So thank you, Kat. To Theo Sandisis, and I hope I got that right, Theo, and colleagues and students from UWS for their support in bringing together some of the ideas for today's session, and also for managing the live streaming of the session. So thank you very much for that, Theo and colleagues. To Mark and Fiona from Reddish Pink for supporting with the social media campaign, the website development and the documentary filming for today. And also a thank you to our two talented young musicians, Jonathan Irwin and Ross Caldwell, who kept us entertained pre-event. Final couple of cohorts, sorry I said 5 minutes, but final couple of cohorts of people to thank. From myself, personally, all current and previous directors, trustees of Roots to Work, who have given freely of their time and their expertise over the last 20 years to help mould and shape the organisation that is Roots to Work into what it is today. And I'm really delighted to see a couple of our founding directors, Nikki and Brian, who have come along to celebrate the day with us as well. So thank you very much, both of you, for that. And also all current and previous staff of Roots to Work who have individually and collectively made a contribution to the work that we've undertaken over the past 20 years and the achievement that we're celebrating today. Every single person that's ever worked for Roots to Work has made a contribution to everything that we heard today, so thank you for that. You'll be glad to hear that's most of the thank yous out the road, so if I could ask you now to gather to join me in offering a round of applause and thanks to everyone. So a final thanks to everybody here who's come along today to support the event and share the celebration with us, and also a thanks to those that have watched it online via our live streaming facility. I have been asked to ask a couple of things. Could everybody that was involved in the presentations today stay back at the end so that we can get some photographs. It's a bit dull to take the photographs in real time in here, so if you could stand back just for 5 minutes till we get some photographs. Also from Anne Baxter, the Vice Principal of the college, to say all of the food is out there and they don't want to waste any of it, so there's doggy bags there. If anybody wants to take some food home with them or have something else to eat before they go, please do that. So finally, I hope you all enjoyed the day. I hope you learned something about Roots to Work, and I hope you take something away from the day. You actually will physically take something away from the day, because if you can enter out or exit out that door there, we've got a very small memento for everybody that came here today to take away with them. So you will have something to remind you of the event in the auditorium. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all your time. Have a good rest of the day, and I wish you a very happy weekend.